excited to be here today. It's been a while since I've gotten a chance to do an interview, and today's a very special one. It's a little bit different from what we've seen before. This time it's with my friend Amber Shaw, and she is the owner of Back to Basics Gymnastics Academy, and we're at one of the locations where she teaches young children all about gymnastics and just helps them keep in shape and fitness and just whole lifestyle for children. And it's just so excited to be with her today. So I hope you guys enjoy our time together and learning more about Back to Basics, and mostly just learning about Amber and how she's had faith on this journey of starting her own business. So our theme for today is Crazy Faith, and we hope that you guys learn a lot about increasing your own faith and following your dreams. Hey, Amber. Thank you so much for coming out today. So we're at one of your gymnastics locations.
Right.
So what's this location?
This is my Brookhaven location. So this is Brookhaven Parks and Recreation.
Awesome. And so how often do you come out here to teach the students?
I'm out here on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I teach pretty much from 9 in the morning to about 12 o'clock. So Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm here from 9 to 12.
Awesome. Over here in Brookhaven with the kiddies. Yes. Awesome. So you're going to have to show me some things a little later.
I will.
I haven't stretched or anything today, so. So I'm so glad you were able to come out and that I was able to see a little bit of what you do every day. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Just kind of how did you grow up?
Okay, well, my name is Amber Shaw, and I claim Alabama. I was in elementary school, probably to 5th grade in Opelika, Alabama, and then that's actually where I started tumbling and doing gymnastics. And then in 6th grade, I moved to Augusta, Georgia, which is where I really, really claim, because that's kind of where I grew up. And from 6th grade all the way up until I graduated high school, I did cheerleading competitively for my schools, and also come through a kind of like a gym on its own. So I did two competitive gyms from 6th grade to 12th grade, and then I graduated, and then I got a partial scholarship at Kennesaw State University to cheer. And so I cheered from my 9th grade year, my freshman year all the way to probably about my junior year. Didn't do it my last year. And that's kind of where I am now. Like, that's kind of me, and I graduated and kind of had a journey to get back to basics. So.
We all had a journey.
I had a little journey to get here.
So when you were in school, what did you study?
I studied political science.
Okay.
I graduated with a bachelor's in political science because I was going to go to law school. That was kind of my passion. That's kind of where I wanted to go. So obviously I didn't do that, but that's what I studied in college.
Wow, political science.
Yes.
From political science to
owning my own.
gym, training, flipping. How do these two things go together, or are they just different personalities you have that are
two different things in there? No, I always, since I was little, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's kind of what I always wanted to do. And I went to school, got my degree, and kind of was like, I'm going to go to law school. That's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
But once I graduated, I actually graduated with no loans. So once I graduated and I got out, I was kind of like, man, go to law school right now. Like, I'm going to be spending XYZ amount of money, not to deter anyone, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I graduated, and so about 2 years I went through that. I'm sure everyone else on your YouTube page went through that stage of, I don't know what I want to do. Should I go to law school? And I kind of even thought I wanted to do physical therapy. But I swear God was just always pushing this in my heart. I just kind of wasn't listening. And so I remember talking to my now fiance about it, and he was like, well, if you want to open your gym, open your gym. And I think the big thing came where I remember I actually was going to go to the military. That's a big story. I was going to go to the military because, they pay for your school, they did this, they did that. But honestly, I remember I was this close to signing the paperwork, and I was sitting at my dad's house, and he comes downstairs, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm filling this paper out. I think I'm going to go to the military. And I just start crying out of nowhere. And Dad's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I enjoy working with kids. I enjoy teaching them. I enjoy the families. And he was like, then what are you doing? And honestly, from that point on, with my dad helping and also starting to really listen to what God had for me, that's kind of where the political science kind of went this way, and Back to Basics kind of came this way.
Wow. So you had a breakdown moment.
Yeah, I had a serious, like, I was this close to joining the military. I had no interest in the military whatsoever. But, you know, people are like, oh, they pay for your college, they do this, they do that. You hear so many different things in your ear and from the world. And so you stop kind of listening to, especially when you feel desperate, like, okay, I'm getting to 23, I need to figure what I'm going to do in my life. So I had my breakdown moment, but it was so needed.
So it felt like the rational choice at the time.
Yes. Are you saying
with joining the military?
Yeah, it was rational because I was like, okay, though I have to give the military this amount of time, but they'll pay for my schooling, and if I want, I'll go to school for free. It was rationale thinking. It wasn't listening to God and listening to my faith. It wasn't that.
Well, thank God for that.
Yes. It was like, what are you doing? Rip it up. So I literally ripped it up, and I went forward, and that's where I'm at today. So
wow, wow. So we're fast forwarding, you know, a little bit to you having this gym. Like, you went through this moment of, wow, I don't want to go to the military. I want to work with kids. What made you say the best way to work with kids is going to be to open a gym?
I think it's that seed that's planted. And I say that because in most things in life, there's always a seed that has to be planted. And I always, even when I was in high school, was, oh, I want to own my own gym. I always kind of said it in passing, but it was always there in me. And I knew I didn't want to be a teacher or touch in that capacity, but I'm really good at this, and I really, really enjoy it, and I think, like I said, is the seed that was planted is what really made me start listening to it. And like I said, also having faith in God that He was going to, He has me. Yeah. Being a lawyer wasn't what I was supposed to be put on this earth to do. Being a physical therapist was it was to do this right here. And I never felt so happy doing this than I have anything else.
Was it something like from your past that impacted you, like your own experience in the gym, that made you feel like this is something that I can do to help other little girls?
Yeah. I started tumbling when I was 5. So I grew up in gym. I grew up competing. And when people say, oh, sports keep kids out of trouble, like, it keeps kids out of trouble. I mean, my parents were pretty strict where if I wasn't getting good grades or I got in trouble that week, I wasn't cheering. And I was vital to my team. So I made sure 99% of the time I followed directions and I did what I needed to do to make sure that I could stay on both of my teams, because I was on 2 competitive teams. And I didn't want to let my team down by getting in trouble or getting bad grades or something like that. So I just really realized that kids need that nowadays. Kids need an outlet where they can, even if they don't become the next Gabby Douglas, that they can actually enjoy themselves and have a sport that they could do that can possibly keep them out of trouble. That they love so much that they don't want to get in trouble. Yeah. And I could do that for them. That was done for me, and I could do that for other kids.
Oh, that's really great. But you talk a lot about how you feel like God planted that seed. Did you always feel that God planted that seed, or was there like a point in time where you had this epiphany, like, this is what God's calling me to do?
That's a good question. No, I don't think it was because the seed was planted so young in me. I didn't realize like He was even planting a seed. I just I love to cheer. I love gymnastics. Like I never in a million years did I really think this is what I'd be doing. And I think the biggest moment came for me probably was like I said with my father. That was the big catalyst. Like, stop trying to do what you want to do. Like, stop trying to be a lawyer. Stop trying to be this. Like, you may think that's what you want to do because you've always wanted to be a lawyer. You've always wanted to be a doctor. But is that really what God is leading you to do? And I kept pushing away from it. Like, a gym? Like, come on, I went to college for 4 years for something completely different. Why would I, But I think that the catalyst and the seed planted it was always there. And God knew when I was 5 that I would be owning this gym, and I would be working with 5-year-olds now, little kids, Coach Amber, helping them do their cartwheels and their forward rolls, and working on their confidence and their fitness. So, the seed was always planted. I didn't really see that seed until in my 20s. I was like, oh my goodness, God was planting the seed for me. Yeah.
So even though you did the poli-sci and all of that, and you wanted to become a lawyer, do you see the fruit in even that period of time where you moved away? Like, is there things that you learned from those experiences?
Yes. I always will say college isn't for everybody, and I will stand on that. Not everyone needs to go to college. I know back, our parents are really that generation that pushes, hey, go to college, go to college. But honestly, not everyone needs to go to college. And there's a lot of billionaires and millionaires that don't go to college. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go. I'm not saying that at all. But I talked with my fiance about it, and I'm glad that I went to college. I'm glad I went through that period because everyone's journey is different. And I think had I skipped college and maybe started this from the beginning, I may have been as serious as I am now. I took business classes in college. I took different accounting classes, different classes that somewhat help on the business aspect of this, because coaching is all great and fun, but it's also business. I have to make money. I have to market. I have to sell. Yep. So I think that those 4 years in college shaped me to be a better owner, a better owner.
Yeah, and I guess gives you the experience to help you with mentoring these kids.
Exactly. So, and I have more experience under my belt to help me to mentor them. So
that's awesome. So looking at this faith walk, you have this gym. How easy has it been? Did you just wake up one day, I want to start a gym, and all the kids just came running to you all of a sudden?
Honestly, no. It didn't start out that way. I actually, and that draws in the crazy faith, I actually was working at another gym, and I was in the process of starting back to basics. I didn't want to do too much because I was still at this other gymnastics gym, and I didn't want to kind of mix the two. But unfortunately, I actually was let go from that job suddenly. Wasn't expecting it. And now looking back, it was God saying, hey, stop leaning on this.
Yeah.
Go do what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be working underneath somebody. You're supposed to be working for yourself. So once I got let go from that job, I started with one little gym it's called Kingswood United Methodist Church. I started there with one. And honestly, that was in 2013, and it's now 2016. I have now 6 locations. Wow. I have 2 employees. So it was a gradual thing, and it was honestly also with the faith that comes in line. There's many times during those transitions where I was like, okay, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go back to school, I'm going to go back to do law, I'll do physical therapy, but every single time I would stray away from the path, like this line here, God would find a way to draw me back in. Or he would bless me you're running from this, but here I want to bless you. I want you to have faith in me so that I can bless you with this client or this location or these kids or touching this student. So I mean, it wasn't a sudden oh, I have 100 kids. I started at one location and now I'm just growing. So
was there ever a moment where you didn't think it was going to work out?
I don't think that crosses my mind, just because I'm such a great gymnast. I don't think that per se crosses my mind that it won't work out. I just think the stability is a major thing for me.
Gotcha.
When you have a 9-to-5 job, not that I'm knocking it, because it is for some people, you have more stability. You have a check with me every 2 weeks. You have insurance. So with the stability, that's the hardest thing for me, where it's kind of held me back a little bit. Instead of going full force, I'm because I still have a full-time job now.
Yeah.
So I think the full-time job is probably that thing.
So how do you have faith in this? You can't really see it. No, how do you have faith in something that you don't even really know can happen?
I mean, man, it's just so crazy how God, he works, man. When he comes up, he shows out. And there's been, and I say that last example, there's been so many times where I'm just I'm going to just do back to basics on the side. And I'm going to go back to school and be a lawyer. I'll be a lawyer and then I can do back to basics on the side. And God here's a client. The way I got Brookhaven, I started here actually supposed to do cheerleading. And it wasn't working out here. They already had a gymnastics instructor, and maybe at 5 months in, he calls me one day, and the director here was like, do you do gymnastics still? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, our gymnastics instructor left, and we need someone to take over classes. Would you be interested in doing classes here? I was on the phone I was like, oh, yes, of course. But examples like that just show you he is touching everything, not with his hands physically, but tangibly, he's there.
He's
and so
orchestrating
he's
something.
orchestrating something. So if I can see things like that, it makes me realize, okay, put your faith in it. Because every single time you try to leave or you try to do something else or your focus gets off, God says, hey, that's not where you're supposed to be at. Come back here. So.
And can you see moments do you see a difference between when you're going after school and being an attorney? Because I know this happens to me, where I feel like it's all in my power. I'm smart enough, I can do it. But then when you're going after something like this, it's something where you have to put full faith into God, because it's something that you couldn't do on your own. It's this is totally Him, because if it wasn't Him, this would not be happening.
Because in school, it's when anything, not even just school, but you're putting your hand in stuff, so you're kind of stressed more. Okay, how am I going to pay for this? I want to go to school. Okay, I'm going to have to work extra hours. I'm going to do this. And it's a lot of I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. And with having faith, crazy faith in Him, and I don't mean I trust the Lord, He's got my back, but this session I only have 10 students. I don't have 100 students, I only got 10 students, but I know that God's going to work it out. And I know next session He's going to bless me with 100 more students than I have. That's the crazy faith that we kind of talked about having. And I mean, it's hard, definitely, but with anything, like I said, having that crazy faith is super important.
What helps you every single day to keep it? Because it sounds like something that you have to remind yourself of.
Yes.
So what do you do to keep your mindset on this, not on what you're seeing every day, not on just the 10 kids in class, but on the goal and the big picture?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, I won't be cliche and say prayer, but I mean, prayer is something that I have to do, because without it, I'm lost. I'm a little lost. And not only prayer, but meditating on it, because sometimes the world is so busy in my head, I have to slow down a little bit and meditate on having the faith and realizing, okay, no matter what, He's got me. And I think once you get that, and that's with anyone's passion, you could want to be a lawyer, but God is telling you to be a basketball coach, and that's your passion. Or you could want to be a doctor, and God is saying, hey, I want you to go work for HOSA, or anything like that. But once you're doing it and that faith is in you, you can trust Him a little bit more. Because when you're doing it by yourself and things aren't working out, I'm going back to school and I can't pay the tuition and I don't know what I'm doing. It's so much harder to stay on track, but when God's hand's in it, it's a little bit easier, because He's going to work it out. I got 10 kids, but I know next session I'm going to have 100. So.
Okay. And I didn't tell you I was going to ask this question, because God just put on my heart that maybe this would be good for somebody. But how did you know, or how did your fiance and even your close friends help you keep that faith? And why are they so important to this whole story?
Man, I'll speak on my friends first. My friends, some of them have started their own business. So one of my really good friends, he kind of started his own hair business, and so he knows the struggle he's going through. So we can really relate, and I can uplift him when he's down, and vice versa. Because he's not used to and he quit his job completely, so he's not used to it. So I can uplift him in times where I'm you got to keep your faith. He's got you. You're doing what you're purposed to do. But I will give 100% shout out to my fiance. He's the one who's really quit your job today. I want you to quit your job today, and I want you to go 100% back to basics. But I mean, he is so almost more secure in it than I was at first. He was more secure in it's gonna work. You're great at what you do. You're doing something God has purposed you to do. Have crazy faith. And once I got it, it clicked, then it worked. But I mean, he pushed me almost more than I pushed myself sometimes. And just, not even just that you can do it, but just, babe, have faith.
Yeah.
God says here, have faith. Not just have faith, but have crazy faith. So.
Yeah. So I think about that, sometimes we can have faith, but if the people around you aren't pushing you on those days when you're not feeling, you kind of need that cheerleader in the background.
Exactly. If you don't have that, sometimes, man, it's easy, especially when you have fears mixed in there. It's easy to lose sight and say, "Oh, I'll just do it on myself."
Yeah.
Oh, maybe next year I'll really push for it. But when you have someone that's in your corner fighting, maybe if not as good as you, but better, then I mean, it's just great. So.
And how does that teach you to cheer on other people?
I'm an entrepreneur, man, so I say everybody start their own business. But I mean, it's not for everyone. Not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is built to have a career in corporate America.
Yeah.
So I don't knock people that want to. Really, that's what they want to do. But I mean, we just all have to be there for each other. Whether it be, okay, how do I better? If I want to do a career job, how do I get there? Or if I want to be an entrepreneur, how does it look like? Amber, how did you do it? And how did you, like you're asking me today, and you're asking your YouTubers, how did you keep your faith? Because, man, it's so easy in the world today to lose faith, and not only yourself, but in Him.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, all of it comes from Him, and all of that crazy faith comes from Him. But like I said earlier, once you get it, and you really get it, that crazy faith where it's like, God, I don't know, but I know last month I thought the water bill wasn't going to get paid in my gym, but somehow I got paid, or, you know, you shake it off and you're saying it's okay, like, I know you got me, you know, not that Christian, oh, well, God's got me, everything's going to be fine. No, like, I trust you, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Wow, that's great. So, looking back on where you are, or looking at where you are right now, what is your next step? Like, what is the next big vision? If you're thinking as big as God is thinking for yourself.
No 9 to 5, no more than that. No, I'm getting married in September. Woohoo! Yes, you will. And I plan on quitting my job after we get back from the honeymoon. I plan on, I actually have a contract for another rec center that's in the works right now, and we shall see if it happens. So we'll just see. I'm hoping that doors are going to open, and that's kind of where God's leading me. But even the sermon I heard today was talking about taking leaps and really being available for God to work on you, and I want to be available. So if God has been pushing me to say, hey, that's not what you need to be doing 9 to 5 anymore, then hey, I'm pushing for that. So
Just preparing now.
I'm prepared. I'm super prepared, actually.
Like I've been waiting my whole life. So if you were to look back on your life and look at yourself at like 16, 17, 18 years old, you know, what would you say to little 16-year-old Amber? What would little 16-year-old Amber be doing? Cheering. And what would you tell her?
I would tell her, honestly, to don't limit what God has for you. And I say that because all the time, we always have plans. You know, you go to college, you're like, okay, I want to be a physical therapist, or I want to be a news journalist. Not saying that you can't do those things, and not saying that that's not what God has planned for you, but don't have tunnel vision. Because though I'm glad I went to college for 4 years, never in my life did I imagine this. And it took me a while to accept that this is what God had for me, instead of embracing it. So I would say embrace it. And if God is putting this on your heart, meaning owning your own gym, don't have the narrow vision. Because I took 2 years of my life like floating around, like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to go to the military. I want to be a dentist. I don't know, you know. And I could have skipped those 2 years had I been really, really trusting in Him. Man, I could have skipped 2 years and been even more expanded and successful in Back to Basics had I, you know, from a younger age said, hey, Amber, when God is working on you, let Him work on you. When He open up your tunnel vision, all of it. So,
Amen.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Amber. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. You heard it from Amber. You know, open your eyes. Try to see what God has for you. See beyond the scope of your current vision. And let God tell your story. Have crazy faith and connect with friends that have crazy faith too. See you later, YouTube.
Also, put your arms up in the air. So put their arms up. You want to touch the floor? To get your belly button and say